Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on another episode of the Entrepreneurial Mindset Show. My name is Florin Lungu, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. If this is your first show, welcome. This is the show where we look at essential traits of successful entrepreneurs. We look at what do successful people do differently, and how can we do the same things? How can we learn? What are those mindsets that successful entrepreneurs have developed? And how do they use that in their practices, in their businesses, in their lives, and what can we do to develop those mindsets too, right? So if this is your first show, welcome again. My name is Florin Lungu, and I'm so delighted to share with you today on the decisive mindset. So I'm going to share some slides, and I'm going to swap between the slides and the camera, and today's topic is the decisive mindset. And what is mindset actually? Before we even dive into the decisive mindset, mindset is a set of attitudes, beliefs, expectations about a situation or an outcome. And so attitude would be the sum of my actions, my thoughts, and my beliefs, right? So when we think about mindset, right, we think about our thinking, our attitude, our beliefs, and what we do, our actions, right? And isn't that true that the thinking we apply to a certain situation determines in great to a great extent the outcome that we're going to get from that situation? I believe most people agree that if we apply a certain thinking to a certain situation, we're going to get different results. And so this is what we want to look at. What's the thinking that we need to apply to certain situations so we get the result that we want from those situations? So one thing that I want to share with you before we kind of dive into this mindset is something by Wayne Dyer. He says that when we change the way we look at things, and that's I added including us, right? Because I used to use this code and have this top of mind and use this with clients, say, oh, okay, so when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. But I wouldn't see this as also being applicable to me, right? And so when you change the way you look at you you look at yourself, when I change the way I look at myself, the image that I hold of myself starts to change, right? So not only because this mindset applies first to ourselves, and then to the world that we see, right? Because when we say mindset, it's a set of attitudes, belief, expectations about you, I, and the world operate, then this includes all of us. So I think this is a major shift that came to me recently, and this is one of the great things that you are on the show, because here is where I share my latest thinking. Um, this is what I'm learning. I'm not sharing with you something that I learned 3 years ago. This is me in the process. So when we change the way we look at things, including ourselves, right, the things we look at change, right? So that's what we want to do in this process. We want to share with you a different way of looking at things. And the first thing we want to kind of acknowledge is that a decisive mindset, it's a purpose-driven, decisive decision making process. And so how could someone develop a decisive mindset? We say that we want to move from shiny object syndrome to this purpose-driven decision making, right? And why is that important? Yeah, well, because if you think about that, we make hundred, if not thousands of decisions every single day. Like in every split of a second, we make a decision to either, for example, you know, take this bottle of water or not. I decide to look there or not. And most of these decisions are made unconsciously, right? And there are some decisions that we are glad that they are made unconsciously, because those are the routines, right? I don't need every single day to decide if I will have coffee or not. I know I'm going to have coffee in the morning. I don't need every single day to decide if I would be doing my push-ups or not, because that's one of my habits. I do it, or brush my teeth, or whatever it is that I'm doing in the morning. Those are some things that I have created a habit of, and then pass it on to my subconscious mind. But what if, my subconscious mind makes decision on my behalf on important areas of my life, right? If I make a decision to call someone or not, if I make a decision for a business, for a new area of my business, well, those are some of the decisions that we want to put some more thinking into, right? And so because we make these decisions unconsciously, right? Most of us have developed, a decision making process, and we're not aware of that decision making process. And I'm going to share with you, what can we do to become aware of what is the decision making process that we have. I didn't even know that we have a decision making process, but we have. And this is mainly, the result of the programming that we got when we were, young, before the age of 11, maybe 12, 13, when we had the ability to think for ourselves. Before that age, people in our life, our parents, peers, teachers, told us what to think. And because of that kind of programming, now we make decisions in a certain way, right? So we want to look at that and change that, right? So let's look at some really interesting quotes here on decision making, what other people have said about decision making, and then we'll look at some principles that you can apply in your life right away. Okay? Look what Bernard Lager say. He says, be decisive. A wrong decision is generally less disastrous than indecision. So isn't that true? So many times we postpone decisions, and I say that making no decision, in a decision making point, it's a decision on itself, right? So if you make no decision, you decide not to decide. You wouldn't see that as a decision, right? But it is. You say, oh, I haven't made my decision. Well, you decided to procrastinate, or a part of you decided to postpone this decision, right? So that was a decision in itself, right? Let's look at another one. Look what Napoleon Hill says. He says that man of decision cannot be stopped, but the man of indecision cannot be started. So take your own choice. Which one you choose. So let's look at some of the differences between successful people and unsuccessful people when it comes to decision making. So if you look at unsuccessful people, they usually don't know what they want, right? They're wishy-washy. They're not sure. If you ask, do you want this or do you want? I'm not sure. They don't know what they want. So because they don't know what they want, of course, it's very difficult to make decisions, right? Because you don't know which one will lead you where you want to go. And if you don't know where you want to go, any road will take you there. Like you go out, taking a walk in a new city. Like whenever I travel, Florina and I usually am the guy who wants to have checkpoints, right? We want to see this. I'm looking, at these travel guides and say, oh, we want to see that church. We want to see that square. We want to, to eat at that restaurant. And those are my goals, right? And on the other side, Florina, she wants to just take a walk in the city and say, well, where do we go? I don't know. Just take a walk. But how do we know we got there? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just take a walk, right? So in that case, because we don't have a clear target, we just take a walk and we enjoy the journey. But we don't know if we made the right decision or the wrong decision at this turn. When she asks me, should we make right or wrong? Right or left? I don't know. Who cares? Because we're just taking a walk, right? But in life, I think we want to take a little bit more than just a walk, right? We want to have some goals. We want to have some things. We maybe have a vision for the future, and then the question is, what's the best path or the shortest path to achieving our vision, and that requires that we know what we want. So that's one of the differences between unsuccessful and successful people. They either have a clear purpose and vision, or the unsuccessful people, you see, they don't know what they want. Another one, unsuccessful people talk more and do very little, while successful people do more and talk less. Unsuccessful people are influenced by others and allow other people's opinion to influence their thinking, while successful people do their own thinking. Unsuccessful people permit the media and gossiping to do their thinking, while successful people keep a mind closed against all negativity. And isn't that true? That you see people even on social media, sharing news or sharing things that they haven't even checked. Is this a reliable source, right? If someone is putting something in front of me, you know, is that a trustworthy source, right? Do they have my best interest? What is the agenda of those people behind it, right? And honestly, and sadly, most media channels and much of what we consume on social media, um, they don't have our best interest. Most media channels, they want to sell their newspaper, or they want audience. And so how do you attract more people? Well, with negative news. Negativity is, it's proven, sells many times more than positivity. And I challenge you, take a look at your social media newsfeed, right? And take a look at any website that you go for news, right? Any news website that you use to consume news, and look into, scroll into those newsfeed and see, what's the ratio between negative news and positive news. I bet it's somewhere, 10 to 1. So for 10 negative news, you would have one positive. So don't allow that to influence your thinking. That's what I'm saying. Let's look at some more. Unsuccessful people ask family and friends for advice, while successful people have, a mastermind group, have, advisors around them that know what they're talking about. The biggest challenge for unsuccessful people is that they go ask people that do not have the results that they want. So for example, if I want to, you know, be healthy and have a healthy body, I would not go ask someone that it's overweight, right? And when it comes to the financial side of our lives, so many people ask advice from other people that have the same results that they have. So uh, that's almost stupid, right? Why would you do that? Make sure that when you ask someone what they think, make sure that they think, and then make sure that they think about the subject that you want them to think, and make sure that they have the results that you want to have, right? Most people don't think. They just taking whatever it's on the media, and they say, oh, that's the truth because I read somewhere on the internet. Well, somewhere in the internet, is that a reliable source? I mean, who published that? Who published that? What is their agenda? So be very careful from where you take your information. Have your mastermind group, have your people that are your trusted advisors. Don't take advice from anyone. Follow their opinions and seldom take action. That's what unsuccessful people do. Follow others' opinions, right? And then because it's others' opinions, they don't take action because it's not their idea. But successful people reach their own decisions and follow them, right? And as a summary, unsuccessful people reach decisions slowly and change them quickly, and often, if they believe a better idea just came out, while successful people reach decision promptly and change them very slowly, if they change them at all. That's the biggest difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. I believe this is a game changer. Decision making, it's a game changer for you, is a game changer for mine. Because think about that. If you knew exactly what it is that you want and you were able to make decision quickly, right? And act on those decisions, think about how much time would you spare. And I share with you that we make, hundreds, if not thousands of decisions every single day. And some of those decisions, we know exactly what we want, but in other areas, maybe we're not so clear what it is that we want. I give this example of, me, being in front of one of these, gelato shops in Italy, right? So, and you have like 30 different flavors you could choose from, right? And so there, I couldn't allow myself to say, okay, now it's not so important which flavor I want. I still have some, safe choices, right? I go to coffee, chocolate, tiramisu, pistachio. Those are the things that, I usually like. And so that will be my safe bet, right? And if I don't want to think about, what I'm going to decide, if I only have a split of a second, I go for that because I know what I want. But at times, I want to explore something different. And I want to go outside of my comfort zone and try a different flavor, go to more fruity combinations, right? And so there are areas of my life where I know exactly what it is that I want, and I make decision immediately because I know if you give me 3 seconds to make a decision what gelato I have, it's chocolate or it's espresso. But if you give me 3 minutes, then I could think, and I could read some labels, then I could spend some more time. So do you see that, like, knowing what it is that you want saves you time and allows you to make decision much quicker, and then you move on, right? That's why, some people are still figuring out if they should go online or not. And I just recently spoke with a bank, and I told them I cannot come physically in your offices, and they told me, well, we don't have yet a solution for online meeting. Seriously? A serious bank in Sweden, 1.5 years after COVID first, outbreak, they don't have a solution for online meetings. I don't know what they're waiting for. However, lack of decision is one of the the biggest causes of the main causes of failure. I know Napoleon Hill shares in his book Think and Grow Rich that accurate analysis of 25,000 men and women. Imagine he interview all of these people over a 20 years period of time to write the book Think and Grow Rich. And he says, accurate analysis of 25,000 men and women who had experienced failure disclosed the fact that lack of decision, it's at the top of the 30 major causes of failure. Right? Think about it, 25,000 people who have experienced failure. In other words, he has not interviewed any person who had not failed in their life, not at all. So, based on this research on 25,000 people, he says that lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. And he says this is not a mere statement of theory, it's a fact, right? So, when you interview this many people, it's a fact. And he goes on to say that procrastination, the opposite of decision, it's a common enemy which practically every man must conquer. What he says that it's not that some people, do not procrastinate and some procrastinate. I mean, he doesn't say that some people have some, you know, advantages that other people do not have, that they've been born with these, decision making skills and other people have not. No, what he says is that procrastination, it's an enemy that we all must conquer, right? It's something that we all must fight with, right? And of course, there are some personality traits, and if you're familiar at all with these personality assessments, on that spectrum, there are 4 different personality types and combination of those, right? And so on the red, if you are more with colors, or the D, the dominant side, those people are more decisive, right? They kind of know what they want. Sometimes they make decision too quick, right? And might miss some facts, right? But we know that some people are better at decision making, and some people are more careful, or believe that they require more information. But why he says that all people, everyone, that includes me and you, we need to fight with this procrastination, and at different levels, we all have conquered or not, right? Depending on where you are with your decision making, you may be still fighting with procrastination, or maybe you're now started to conquer it. You now started with um, to maybe master it. Then you don't procrastinate anymore. So the whole idea here, what does it mean procrastination? Is the opposite of decision. It means like we don't make any decision, right? And look at what Roosevelt says. He says that in any moment of decision, the best thing you could do is the right thing, right? The best thing you could do is the right thing. In other words, the best thing you could do is to make the right decision. But the worst thing you could do is nothing, right? So in other words, in any moment of decision, the best thing you could do, you could make the best decision, right? The right decision. And the worst thing you could do is do nothing. So how can we develop this decisiveness? How can we develop this decisiveness? I from my experience in working with entrepreneurs, I come up with a list here that I think will help us go through it. So first of all, I believe having a clear purpose, vision, and goals absolutely helps with decisiveness, right? And we have a whole course on purpose, vision, goals that I will share with you, one day in one of these shows, right? Where we look at what its purpose, right? Purpose, many people got stuck into oh, I don't know my life purpose, and I believe that purpose is this one singular thing that you have for a lifetime. And I come to the understanding that purpose is more like something that you have for a season of your life, right? So that the season of life, depending on where you are in life, might be something between 2 3 years to even 10 years, maybe 20 years. But purpose is not necessarily a lifelong purpose, right? And I believe this stops so many people into defining what it is that they want and what's their purpose, because they believe, well, I don't know if this is my life purpose. Well, I think you have to just play with it. You have to taste it. You have to work with it and see if that feels right, right? So you don't have to get stuck into, oh, this has to be this one singular thing that never changes, right? Because that's a challenge, especially for people that procrastinate, right? This is a really good reason. I don't know what my purpose is, so okay, then I cannot go forward, right? And what we say, okay, so if you don't know what your purpose is, then think about your vision. Think about what would you want in your life, right? Looking forward like 3 to 5 years, you know, how would you like to live your life? What car would you drive? What house would you live in? What kind of people would you surround yourself with? How would you spend your days? What would you work with? You know, all of those elements about your life, right? How would your physical body look like? And the health of your body, and that would kind of be your vision for the future, right? And then from that vision, you're gonna start picking goals, right? Say, oh, so if this is my kind of, let's say, house that I want to live in 3 years time or 5 years time, okay, then that would be, that would be a goal. That makes it a goal, right? Okay, so then one other area of my life would be that I want to have a fit body. I want to release 10 kilograms of weight in, I see myself in 3 years time, weighting this. Oh, okay, good. Then that would be another goal, right? So we don't have to get stuck and caught up into this idea of having a clear purpose, and that purpose should be a life purpose. And in absence of that, we cannot do anything. We're stuck. No, that's procrastinating. So think about your vision. Think about what it is that you want to create in your life, and create some goals from that, right? So having a clear purpose, vision, and goals, right, would allow you to be decisive, right? Because of course, when you know what you want, you very, you know, very quickly you figure out, oh, is this in alignment with my purpose? Yes or no, right? If I act on this idea, would it take me closer to my goal? Yes or no, right? That's kind of the kind of question we want to ask ourselves, right? So having a clear purpose, vision, and goals will absolutely help you be more decisive, right? Let's look at another one. Keeping a mind closed against all negative. I think this is so important in today's world. More and more people, spread this negative news, and it's a good reason why I don't have any TV at home. And then I already now see that, my Windows here on my computer has added for me like kind of this button, close to the where the clock area is, and I cannot have the weather. But then when you click on that, I want to see more. Okay, let's see. Weather would be a good information. I want to see more about the weather, but all of a sudden I realize that that's kind of a summary of the news, and I see accidents in the area where people got lost or were murdered, and I say, oh, I don't want to see all that information. I don't even know if I can remove it, and they add it on my computer without asking me if I want it or not. So now what I'm doing is I'm saying this is not relevant, this is not relevant, this is not relevant. I'm kind of removing the kind of news that I want to see. It's almost impossible today to stay, to have this closed mind against negativity, but it's essential. So if you don't look at, because here's what happens. What happens is that your mind will actually run negative scenarios, right? So if you see, the only thing you see negative is negative news. The only thing you read is about COVID and Corona and all of these things. Of course, when you think about taking a risk, maybe starting a new business or opening a new branch, or quitting your job, or whatever it is that you see your next step might be, think about that. How confident would you be when you think about all the negative news, right? You feel that, oh, the world is now at standstill, or you feel that maybe with all the jobs that had been lost and the business that had been closed with this COVID, is this a good time for me to start a business? Is this a good idea, right? So that's why we want to have a closed mind against negativity, because that negativity will show up in our decision making, and we'll start to kind of play more of these negative scenarios in our mind rather than looking at the opportunities, right? So that's why I believe a closed mind against all negativity would be serving you very, very well. Right on. Okay, let's look at another one. Being part of a supporting mastermind. I think this is essential. We have to surround ourselves with people that help us think positively, and also that are like-minded people, right? As I just mentioned, we cannot go to our family or friends to ask advice about our career or business, because in all of their well-meaning advice, right? They might sabotage us just because they want us to stay safe. They don't want us to suffer. And if there is a risk for me that I might lose some money into a transaction, or that I might, lose something or get hurt or fail, right? They don't want me to go to that. So they would probably give me advice that will sabotage me, right? I will not take risks, because based on, oh, this is what they said on the news, oh, this is what I know, and what they know, what it says on the news, doesn't have anything to do with me and my purpose, right? So again, having a group of people that are trustworthy, that are on the same journey as you are, it's essential for you to be able to develop this decisiveness. Analyzing your decision making process, this is a big one, right? We're looking at analyzing your this decision making process. We look at how it is that you're making decision. This is a whole course on the, we call that the timeline exercise, right? So for those of you who are interested, we will have a Think and Grow Rich challenge starting very soon, and in that challenge we're going to talk about this timeline exercise. This timeline exercise, it's an exercise where we look back at our kind of the timeline of our life, and we look at those moments where we've been successful, and those moments that maybe we learned some things, we had some setbacks or some failures, and we look at what was the decision making process in those situations, and how can we export that decision making process, improve it, and use it again and again. That's a whole lesson only on that, right? So again, analyzing how do we make decisions, and then being able to look at that and change it and improve it, again, helps, of course, being more decisive, because we know how we make decisions, right? Let's look at the next one. And switching from evaluating risk to choosing the best available options. I think this is one of the biggest, actually, things. If you think about that, this is one of the changes that happened, somewhere in our timeline, somewhere in our life, we chosen to switch. I'm not sure if we chosen, but we swap between, looking at decision making, um, you know, instead of looking at it as a process of deciding what's the best option to move forward, we started to look at decision making as a process of evaluating risk. What I mean by that is that instead of looking at, what would be my best next step. So let's say I want to grow my business, right? My best next step would be, well, I think I should employ two salespeople, right? I should employ two salespeople. I should pay them salaries, and those people would, would absolutely grow my business, right? But then that might be the best options, right? The best option, but that's a high risk, right? um, the risk is that, I need to pay these people, right? I need to have the money, the intake for the salaries, and they might not perform well. They might not start, with the pace that I you know project, and the income will not come as quick as I expect. And so what will happen is that we will end up in a situation when I'm not able to pay them. And so it's quite risky, right? And then I don't do that, and I'm looking for less riskier options, right? Does it make sense? So instead of me looking, okay, so that would be the best option for me to grow my business, right? But instead of taking that, because it's a high risk also, I'm looking at, oh, but I think that's risky. Let me look at something less risky. And that's what, most people do. And all of us at one point in time, we have been, trained to switch between, looking at the best option, because that decision comes from Latin, and it means to cut off, right? So decide means to cut off options, right? So you cut off, out of your options, and you only choose one, right? So you cut off the other options. So that is decisiveness, right? And cutting off options that you don't want or doesn't serve you. But if you think about that, now the decision making, that we apply in our life is almost like evaluating risk, right? So when I need to take my next step, I'm looking, okay, so what do I know, what I don't know about this area, right? Do I feel it's risky, or do I feel it's not risky? Is it is what are the odds of succeeding? What is the risk? And I tend to choose an option that is less risky rather than choosing the best option. So when we made this shift from deciding for what's the best option into going to, what is the less risky option, well, we actually sabotage ourselves, because i'm not I'm not taking the best option for me to grow my business, because I feel it's risky, right? And many times the best option is also maybe the riskiest, right? So instead of me, what I believe now is the best option, it's the safer option. Does it make sense? Yeah. So when we make that shift, then of course we are more decisive, because we're looking at what's the best option rather than looking at avoiding risk, right? And we have a whole lesson again on the myth of risk, right? Because I believe that, there is not such a thing as risk. Risk is present only when we feel that we lack the resources to pull together that business, or that opportunity, or that idea. And the moment that we realize that we have the resources, that we've done this before, that we analyze our decision making process, then in that moment, no kind of risk evaporates, because we know what we're going to do. But before then, no, we were kind of stuck into this, risk evaluating. And yeah, that's another lesson. That's a lesson that is a topic for another day. But for now, what we want to know is that at one moment in time, we switch between making decision or deciding between the best options to evaluating risk. And the more we play this kind of negative scenario in our minds, the more we feel it's risky. And when we feel it's risky, we actually don't make decisions, right? So the whole idea here is into taking action, right? And I love this quote by Napoleon Hill. I just have it actually printed out here, on my office hall. He says something like that. He says, "Tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it." This is again the idea of do more, talk less, right? So tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. I think that's a game changer. Think about that. Because one of the characteristics of successful people is that they keep their mouth shut, and then they do what they need to do, right? They're not talking about their ideas until they are already done, right? And you see unsuccessful people say, "Oh, I'm gonna write a book, or I'm gonna start a course, or I'm gonna start a business. Oh, someday I'm gonna do that." I don't know when is that someday. I never seen a someday on my calendar. I have to pick a date. But let's look at some of that's procrastination. Let's look at some of the symptoms of procrastination. So if you look at the symptoms of procrastination, at the top of the real causes of procrastination, we discussed about this, not having clear goals of instruction. We don't know, what's the goal, what it is that we want to achieve. And of course, if that's the case, then yeah, we're not taking action because we don't know if this is in direction of our goals or not. We fear criticism. That's another cause of procrastination. If we fail, fear of failure, of course. Lack of plans, right? If we don't see how this will gonna take where we want to go, then we don't act on it. We delay the decision, or we are looking for perfection rather than progress, right? And so until it's the perfect move, the perfect decision, the best decision, I'm not gonna do anything, and they're just researching. um, Not having the desire for the outcome, right? So if we don't feel, well, that's exactly what I want, and I really really want that, of course it's easy to procrastinate. When it's someone else's idea and it's not our idea, and as John Maxwell shares in one of his book, we haven't put our dream to the test to make sure that it's ours, and maybe we heard this is nice to have and we started to do it, and then because it's not our dream, we quit after a few days or weeks. um, Searching for shortcuts again, we don't want to do the hard work, so we look for shortcuts. And we have the habit of blaming other people for one mistake. This is again the habit of finding excuses, and to kind of back up our procrastination, saying why it is that we're not doing the things we should be doing. And again, one of the things that I suffer from is an overly optimistic image of the future, and not only the future but myself, right? So I'm thinking, oh well, okay, I'm gonna do that tomorrow, I'm gonna fit this between these two meetings here, right? And the problem is that I'm not doing it today, I'm delaying it because I'm gonna do it tomorrow, and tomorrow I figure out, oh, I was a little bit too optimistic to fit all of these things in my agenda here, right? So that's the reason for procrastinating, because I believe, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. But tomorrow, I'm not. What I learned is that you will never be able to recover, you know, um, the time you spend in a less productive way, or you're not happy how you spend it, right? And this applies for me in the area of sleeping, right? So I know it's essential for me to sleep between 7 or 8 hours, and I kind of have the habit that during the week, like I start well on Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday, then I sleep a little bit less, and then Thursday, Friday even less, and then by the end of the week I kind of feel tired, so, oh, I'm going to recover this during the weekend. Well, the challenge is that I don't know from where I'm going to recover, because if I sleep less during the weekend, I'm going to do less of something else, so you never be able to recover the sleep, right? You have the same 24 hours in a day, right? So that's one thing that I learned. I need to do it now. I need to go to sleep now, because I'm not gonna play this card again, that I'm gonna sleep more during the weekend, right? Doesn't work that way. And the same with taking action. So you cannot just delay it and do more tomorrow, right? I'm gonna catch up tomorrow. Well, you better really catch up, isn't it? If you're truly honest with yourself, you very rarely catch up, right? There are some things that you simply don't do. And that's okay. That's okay. If you know what it is that you want, that's okay. You don't need to do everything. So let's go to the next one here. Let's look at some of the things we can do to develop this decisive mindset, shall we? So how can we develop the decisive mindset? Well, as I said, this is making the shift from the shiny object syndrome to the purpose-driven decision making. And I believe, some things that are going to help us is, one principle that I want to share with you, and is something that one of my mentors really kind of put in my mind. He said that any idea would work. What we mean by that, it doesn't really matter what idea would you choose to work on. Any idea would work. Like if you have an idea, and if you're not sure if that will work, I'm almost certain that if you Google it, you would find that there is a version of that idea somewhere already in a successful business. And if you doubt that your idea will work, um, go out at night, look on the sky, and look at that moon and see and remind yourself that there are footprints on the moon. There are footprints on the moon. Any idea will work. So don't get caught up into, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. It's a good idea. I'm telling you, it's a good idea. Any idea would work. And there will always be more opportunities. This is again one of the things that I struggle with, because in my early 20s I had the opportunity to get into a network marketing company, and I thought, well, and I missed that opportunity, and I thought, oh, I will never have the opportunity again to be in a network marketing company at the start of it, right? And I had that opportunity again, and when I had that opportunity again, I realized, well, this is not exactly what I want. But what I'm saying is that there will always be more opportunities. So you don't convince yourself that this is the only opportunity. And if you don't do it now, there will not going to be opportunities. There will be opportunities. So because this is when we have multiple choices, and you don't want to choose one, because then what if you lose the other ones? And I'm telling you, choose one, go with it, because the other ones, if they're in alignment with what it is that you want to do, there will be more opportunity coming up in the future. So don't get caught up into, now or never. No, there will be opportunities. No worries. Let's look at another one. Seek progress and not perfection. I think, one of the quotes that really, really, embodies this, it is this one by Henry David Thoreau. He says that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he would meet with success unexpected in coming hours. What he says, if one advances confidently, it doesn't say, it doesn't talk about perfection here. It talks about advancement, right? If one advances, right, in the direction of his dreams. He doesn't say you should know exactly what your dream is, and you should take it, a giant leap and achieve it. No. He says if one advances confidently, not 100% sure that that's your dream, in the direction of your dream, and endeavors. What he means by that, he's like, tries to live the life which he has imagined, right? So here we're not talking about, all of the sudden changing everything in your life and living your future life today. No. So you're trying. How do you try to live your future life? For example, one way I do it is when I travel. I tend to book, the kind of the most expensive hotel in town, in a certain range, right? Why? Because that's how I see myself in the future. That's kind of the life I want to live, and I'm trying. So of course, I don't have an unlimited budget, but every time I go travel, I'm looking for a more, a more expensive, if you like, experience, or a more, mind expanding experience. So I'm trying to live the life that I'm imagining, right? So I'm trying, not every day, not in all areas of my life, but in some areas, I'm trying, right? So if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and makes an effort, to live the life that he or she imagined, they would meet with success unexpectedly in common hours, which means like success will come to you. They would meet with success, right? But it's all about making progress. Advances confidently. It's about advancement, progress, right? In the direction of, right? Have that in mind. We're not talking about perfection. We're talking about progress. Let's look at another one. Get clarity on your vision, right? We just discussed this, we covered this. Get specific on your goals, right? If you don't know what your purpose is, then have this clear on your mind, right? And spend time to realize what your purpose is, because when you know what your purpose is, of course you're gonna be able to make purpose-driven decision making, right? Rather than when you don't know what your purpose is, and then any road will take you there. And apply this litmus test for decision making. What is this litmus test? It's a one question that that will be critical for you to say yes or no to an opportunity. So that litmus test, it's a method, right? So it's a one factor method to decide if something is a match or not. And it's used in politics, like for example a candidate that should go for maybe a position, right? They're asked one question, and based on that question they will be chosen to be proposed as a candidate or not, right? So what we're saying here is like, what's the most important question you might ask yourself when it comes to decision making? And here is it. The only question you should ask yourself when you are faced with a decision is this in alignment with my purpose? Yes or no? That's the only question you should ask yourself. But this entails that you know your purpose, right? But this is the only question you should ask yourself. Is this in alignment with my purpose? Yes or no? If I act on this idea, would it move me in the direction of my dream? If I act on this idea, would it take me one step closer to my goals? Yes or no? That's the only thing, that's the only question you should ask yourself. And this is how we make purpose-driven decision making. This is not shiny objects anymore, because we know, and this is the only question. And sometimes some of those shiny objects might seem like opportunity, might seem that they will take us in the direction of our goal. And we're going to do that for a period of time, and we realize, oh, this was not actually taking me there. But at every time we have a decision to make, we ask ourselves, is this in the direction of my goals? Would this take me into my vision life? Is this in line with my purpose? Yes or no? And if yes, then you act, regardless of the condition and circumstances. Maybe you don't have all the resources, but who cares? You act anyway. So that's what we mean by purpose-driven decision making. And I think at the end of the day, decision, it's something that Malcolm Gladwell put it in a really good way. He wrote a book called Blink, right? And he shares out how we make decisions in a blink of an eye. But kind of the thesis of the book is that the truly successful decision making relies on a balance between deliberate and instinctive thinking, right? So there is that part of us that also takes in account the deliberate, and he shares an example where experts sit for months with the I think it's an art piece from the ancient Egypt, and they look at it to know if it's genuine, and then another person, an art connoisseur, comes, and in a blink of an eye, he says, I don't think that's genuine, right? So he shares how deliberating on a decision and looking at the data and gathering more information doesn't necessarily lead to better decision making. That's why he says that successful decision making, it's a balance between deliberate and instinctive thinking. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope it added some value to you. I hope you got some nuggets here about how you could improve your decision making. And I look forward to see you next week on the next episode. Next week we're going to talk about the agile mindset. We're going to look at how can we pivot from process and planning to agility and experimentation. This is something that an author that I respect, Mark Sandberg wrote about, and I'm going to share my take on that. So I look forward to see you again next week in the same place here on Facebook and YouTube, or on my website, depending on where you're watching us. And I'm going to share then about the agile mindset. Okay, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to see you there. Take care. Bye bye.